Hello again. If you haven't watched the previous tutorial on keywords, please do so before watching this one on databases. This is the second of two tutorials for English W270. Please remember that you can find subject and course research guides on the library homepage under Guides, Subject Guides, or Course Guides. The English W270 course guide is there, as well as in your Canvas course site on the Library Research Guide tab.
So what are databases? They are containers you can search holding collections of organized information that is sometimes tagged so you can easily retrieve what you are looking for. We will come back to the idea of tags in a moment. Pause the video and see if you can find the databases icon on the library homepage, ulib.iupui.edu. Then continue with this video once you find it. Scroll down to click on the databases icon. You'll see that IUPUI currently has access to 660 databases. You can quickly get overwhelmed trying to choose which ones to use. But there are two ways that librarians help you figure out which ones are the best for your project. Through the filters here on this databases page, or through our guides. If you use the filters on this page, you'll see that if you filter by subject, type, or vendor, your results get smaller and smaller. And as you can see, there are 12 EBSCO brand databases containing articles that are associated with the subject of English.
The second place you can find databases is on the library research guides. These have database recommendations from subject librarians. Click on Guides and select either subject or course guides. In this case, we are looking at the English W270 course guide. Here's where you can find the subject librarian with their contact information, and you'll be able to find this guide on your Canvas course under the Library Research Guide page. On step 3 in the guide, Find Materials, you'll see a subpage called Databases, Articles, IUCAT, etc., which contains a list of databases that I recommend for this course. And if I click on the subject guides, and if we choose another subject area like political science, you can see that Sarah Lowe is the librarian for that discipline. As with all subject guides, Sarah's guide has a page listing databases relevant to that subject area. Every subject area has a librarian responsible for it, so feel free to reach out to the librarian for any area that you are working in. Selecting the right database is an important part of the research process. How can you pick the right one? You can start by choosing the ones that librarians have highlighted, and then reach out to us if those databases don't meet your needs. As a side note, be sure to always access library subscription databases from the library website. If you just Google the database, you will not be recognized or authenticated as an IUPUI student. This is especially important if you are off campus. I've put information about connecting from off campus in the English W270 course guide on the help page. When selecting a database, you also want to consider your audience, context, and purpose. If your purpose is persuading other scholars, you will most likely need to find academic sources to support your claims. In that case, should you use newspaper databases? Consider the audience for newspapers. Newspaper articles are written for a general public and not a scholarly audience. It's usually acceptable to use one or two popular sources if it helps you to introduce your topic, especially if it is something that's getting a lot of media attention. But of course, that would depend on the context of your issue and your assignment instructions. In this tutorial, I'll show you a few databases that contain a variety of source types. Fortunately, we subscribe to a couple of databases I call the easy buttons for research. They package up all kinds of stuff in one place for one-stop shopping, if you will. Now, I do want you to look beyond these databases eventually, especially as you mature as a scholar. But these databases I show you will contain both foreground and background information. Background is the stuff that you need to get informed, and foreground is the stuff that you're going to cite. Sure, you can use Wikipedia to start to get some background info, but as I mentioned in the course guide, that should just be a starting place for research. You can verify the info you find in Wikipedia in an academic reference database like Credo Reference. Also, since this is an argumentative writing course in which you will need to persuade your readers, it is really important to fully understand an issue and to read various viewpoints about it. That means reading is going to be a major part of your research process, and that takes time, so be sure to plan ahead. As a side note, you might think the librarian is your easy button, but we actually want you to learn how to do this stuff yourself so that you can hone your research skills during college and use them in your career and life. Yes, you will lose access to some of these databases when you graduate, but for now you have a wealth of knowledge at your fingertips. Literally, we pay a lot for these tools. And there are more and more open access databases and articles put online every day. Most search tools work similarly, so these skills are always going to come in handy. Most databases have similar functionality, even if their appearance is quite different. So let's start with the main search screen of a Gale database called Opposing Viewpoints in Context. There's a lot going on here. We have at the top a basic search box, and under that we have the option to browse issues. Below, in the main area of the screen, there are some highlighted issues that are grouped by subject area. If you haven't yet got a research question, this would be a good database to explore. You can click the Browse Issues page at the top to get into an alphabetical list of all the issues included in this database. Let's now look at the other two easy button databases. CQ Researcher also has a search box at the top and a Browse Topics option. Notice that there is a featured report in the main area of the page and a list of hot topics on the left. Similarly, SIRS Knowledge Source from ProQuest has a search box at the top, but you'll have to change the search from a subject to a keyword search in order to use your keywords. And you also have the ability to browse issues on an A to Z alphabetical list or to choose an area like civil rights and liberties to narrow down your browsing. Let's turn back to Gale Opposing Viewpoints in Context and do some searching. Searching and browsing are two different ways of looking for stuff in databases, but for the rest of the tutorial we are going to focus on searching. As I mentioned in the keywords tutorial, you can search using a single search box by typing in your keywords and separating them by AND. All databases recognize this search function. Even Google treats the spaces between the words you type as if it were the boolean operator AND. So you may not have realized it, but when you search in Google using a natural language phrase, Boolean logic is working for you in the background. Here's a Boolean style search on immigration and families. And as you can see, we get all sorts of stuff, from academic journal articles to statistics to audio to images and more. But keep in mind whether you are first looking for background information to inform yourself, or if you are ready to find the meatier content that will help you flesh out your argument. So what are those things called viewpoints, you ask? They are a curated collection of articles that the database employees, including some librarians, have selected to give you multiple viewpoints on a hot topic. You'll have to evaluate each one for its relevance to your research question, but they can be a shortcut to a deeper understanding of a perspective on an issue. Reading multiple viewpoints can help you see various sides of an issue.
So wait, what is Boolean logic? And what is this AND? In the last tutorial, I compared AND to the mortar between your building blocks. It holds two terms together. In this Venn diagram, you can see that if you search for puppy and kitten, your results will have both terms, which is represented by the overlap of the two circles. This actually narrows your search down to only those documents that contain both terms. On the other hand, if you use OR, you expand your search to include all of the terms that you connect with OR. It's like saying, I don't care if I find information on puppies or kittens, either one will do. And once in a while, you might need to use the NOT operator to block something out from your search. I pretty much only use it when I'm getting what I call clutter in my results. So if I'm interested in recruiting students to volunteer for charities and I search recruit and volunteer and students, but keep getting military recruitment information, I may want to use the NOT to declutter the information on military and prevent it from showing up in my results.
Okay, back to Gale Opposing Viewpoints in Context. If you're using the advanced search screen, it's a good idea to keep unique concepts to separate lines. As you can see in the first screenshot, each term is on a different line and the AND is selected from the drop-down to the right of the search boxes. The database treats this search the same as if you had typed all three words in a single search box with the AND in between them. Additionally, I have changed all the drop-down options on the right to keyword so that We search all the fields of information instead of just specific fields like title or author. If you want to step up your game and be more efficient in your searches, you can throw some of your synonyms in the same box as your first keyword and separate them with the boolean OR. The OR operator tells the database you want at least one of these terms, so it makes sense to use OR in between synonyms, right? Either you want a result that contains the term families or you want one that says parents. Check out my example in the second screenshot. Notice how I have families or parents in the same box on the same line, and immigration or migration on another line, and separation or deportation on the third line. I recommend using one concept per line and keeping its synonyms on the same line. If you prefer to use a single search box, you can isolate your synonyms using parentheses, as I have shown with the text on the arrow. You would simply type out the keywords with the parentheses in one search box. Here are a few tips. You can type the AND or the OR in all caps inside any of the boxes, not just the first one. Not all databases recognize the boolean AND or OR if they are typed using lowercase letters, so it is just a good habit to always capitalize them. And also, if you put quotation marks around a phrase or a keyword that is made up of 2 or more words, that will search the database for an exact match. So be sure that your phrase is actually a phrase that other people use and not something that you invented. If you're unsure, separate the phrase into individual terms and put the AND in between them. For example, green card and permanent resident are common phrases, but undocumented resident is more recent, and you may have better success using undocumented and resident as 2 separate keywords. Take a moment to review your list of keywords and identify which phrases you can search by putting quotation marks around them and which ones you might need to separate into individual terms. It's okay to try your searches both ways. That is both the fun and the challenge of research. Here is what a complex search using both AND and OR would look like in a single search box in ProQuest Central. You may find it easier to use the advanced search screen where you can use multiple boxes. Often, when you use the advanced search screen and you run your search, the information in the boxes will be transformed into a single search phrase like this anyway. So here's what that looks like in EBSCO's Academic Search Premier. I encourage you to move away from the easy button databases that I've shown you and to try out both of these interdisciplinary databases. They cover multiple subject areas, so most of you should be able to find plenty of academic articles for your topic. Note that these do contain other stuff besides academic articles, but these databases are less introductory than the easy button ones and a little bit more geared towards scholarly research. If the easy button databases are tricycles, then these two are like bikes with training wheels on them. In the next few slides, I'll show you how to take off the training wheels and to take more control of your searching using the database tools and even your own search results to refine and narrow your searches. Believe it or not, more is not always better. The narrower your focus, the closer and closer you can get to the meatier articles. So it may be useful to think about database search skills in 2 categories, the things you type and the things that you click. We've already talked about the things you type, Boolean operators, quotation marks, and parentheses, so let's look at filters. There's good news. If you have shopped online, you already know how to use filters. When you are on Zappos.com and you click on your shoe size, the type of shoe, and the color, you are clicking on certain characteristics that you want in your result. It is the same with databases, only you're clicking on the type of document you want, an article from a journal or a news story, the publication date, and other characteristics. Thanks to 2 mathematicians, George Boole, who gave us Boolean logic, and S.R. Ranganathan, the father of library science and inventor of the concept of faceted searching, your online shopping and your database searching just got a whole lot easier. You can see I've done a Boolean style search using the advanced search screen boxes, and I got 851 results. That's way too many to sort through, so we will use some filters to narrow down our results. In the second screenshot, you can see I've narrowed down to 293 results. It's still a bit too many, but it's better. To get to this number, I filtered for articles that are peer-reviewed and from scholarly journals that have a publication date during the last 5 years. To narrow even further, I can use one of the subjects that shows up underneath each search result to identify one that sounds like it might help me with my research question. I see the term children, so I'm going to click the plus at the top near the search boxes to add a fourth line, type in the word children, and change the drop-down menu option on the right to SU subject terms. You are probably wondering what a subject term is and perhaps why I had to add children since it is implied in one of my keywords, families. Well, this is where tags comes in. When you search the database for certain subjects, you are narrowing your search to only those articles that are tagged with that subject. The tag tells you these articles are about children rather than just mentioning it as a keyword somewhere. Because I know that this is a subject term that is tagged on articles in this database, and I want to narrow down to just those articles with that tag, I have used it as a subject term in my search. And now you can see that I have only 78 results, a much more manageable number. If I wanted to look up which subjects are used in this database, I could do so by clicking the Subject Terms page at the top. This is called a database thesaurus. Many databases have them, especially the expensive ones, but not all thesauri use the same words for their tags, so you'll have to use the ProQuest thesaurus to look up what subjects they use if you are searching in a ProQuest database. Now at this point, if you want to narrow any further, you still have a few options. You can add another line to your search and introduce a new keyword, or you can use another filter such as full text, or you can try out different subjects to see how they affect your search. Note that in ProQuest databases, you often have more filters to play with. Again, as you do multiple searches, keep track in a journal or a spreadsheet so that you know which searches and filters produce the best results. You can also sign into EBSCO and save your searches and/or articles. In ProQuest, you can also create a My Research profile. Now, these are personal accounts that don't use your CAS IU login, and you will lose access after you graduate, so I prefer to use a citation manager, and there's more information available in the English W270 course guide about those on the citation page. Here is what your research journal might look like. As I experimented with both keywords and filters, you can see how the changes I made, shown here in blue, make my results get narrower and narrower. I also differentiate between the number of results in the third column with the number of filtered results in the fifth column. The filtered results are hopefully more relevant than the unfiltered ones. Keep space for comments and citations that you might want to use. Your next task is to try a few searches in at least 3 different databases that I recommend on the W270 guide. Keep track of your results in your research journal, whether you use my example of a spreadsheet or a table, or come up with your own system. Take evidence of your searches to class with you to share with your instructor and classmates. Now that you know how Boolean-style searching and filters work together, you should feel confident to jump into any library database and search for information. Congratulations, your training wheels are off, and now you know how to find the really good stuff in databases. For information about evaluating the articles you find, citing them, connecting from off-campus, and much more, please take a look at the English W270 course guide. Good luck, and feel free to contact your subject librarian for further help.